Hello friends, this is Robert West. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. The topic of this video is Trump wants to exchange land for peace between Russia and Ukraine, as this information has been trickling out slowly since their meeting with Putin on Friday. But before we start, I want to thank all the new viewers to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Doesn't cost anything. Helps the channel get the information out there. Lets us grow just a little bit. All right, let's get into this. So it came out finally that Putin basically, in that meeting with Trump, said that he would offer to freeze most of the front lines if Ukraine gives up all of Donetsk. Okay. Currently, Russia's controlling, let's see, there was a figure in there about that, about 75% of Donetsk right now. And they also control about 20% of the Ukraine. And Trump told Zelensky he urges him to make this deal. This is why Zelensky and many European leaders are coming to the White House Monday, August 18th, 2025, to discuss. Now, of course, on first look, Ukraine will probably not want to do any land swap because they were the ones that were invaded and they would be rightfully correct. However, and I do say however, they have to make a calculation, a very, very, very serious calculation. What happens if they don't make this deal? And that has to be a discussion with the Ukrainian people, along with the European allies. And also it has to be determined what assistance the United States will give or won't give if they don't make the deal. So this is not, this is certainly not an easy situation. And of course, the last thing before we get into it a little bit more is who's going to enforce this deal? Russia has a history of breaking every deal they ever make. So who's going to be there to enforce the deal if they don't comply with their own deal? It's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. Now, I can tell you this, if I was Vladimir Zelensky, I would not trust Donald Trump one bit. You can't trust what the man is going to do. One day he's hot on you, one day he's cold on you. You saw how he attacked Zelensky at the White House several months ago for really no reason whatsoever. We saw how he stopped supplying ammunition and intelligence to Ukraine for a period of time, which gave Russia even a bigger advantage than they already had. We saw that he supports the belief that Trump supports the belief that Russia was justified in invading Ukraine. So you have that to look at. Then you have to see what the Europeans are able to do and are willing to do. Unfortunately, like I said in a previous video, they don't have the capability to provide the weapons necessary to make Russia's life very, very uncomfortable. So that has to be the discussion. Now, I would say one thing: Ukraine wants to join NATO and they want to join the European Union. And Russia wants an absolute prohibition against both. That has to be a deal breaker. Now, do I think while Trump is president, Ukraine will join NATO? Absolutely not. He doesn't support that whatsoever. The question is, will the next administration, if there's another administration, support Ukraine joining NATO? That's a good question. Russia did sort of say they would give some security guarantees, but honestly, I don't believe that whatsoever. I think that if they agreed to stop the war, for them, it would just be a pause to resupply and at a later date and time of their choosing, re-engage again. That's what I believe the Russians would do. That's what I believe the Russians would do. So that's where we're at. Now, we'll see what happens tomorrow at the meeting between Trump, Zelensky, and the European leaders. I imagine the leader from the UK, France, Germany, maybe some others will come. But this is a very, very, very tough decision for Ukraine. But again, it may be a decision they might have to actually consider, because looking at the big picture and the fact that they really can't rely on the United States at all, they may have no other choice to cede this land and have a pause to rebuild their country. And I will say, I mean, I think that Ukraine has learned a very valuable lesson, that that 1994 agreement that the U.S. agreed to defend them when they gave up their nuclear arms was pure BS. It was pure BS. And that's why they're in this position. Had they still had these arms, Russia would have thought a little bit more carefully. Now, I understand why they gave them up. These weapons are expensive to maintain and all that. Tell you, they have a lot of weapons ready to be given to or sold to Israel. I would divert them to the Ukraine personally. I think until the Israelis get a government that acts responsibly, I think I would cut them off from their weapons. Let them make their own weapons. Let them do without the aid. If they want to behave like animals, so be it. So be it. If they want to be as bad as Hamas, so be it. But they're actually behaving in some ways worse than Hamas, because they are still starving the population of Gaza. Many people have died from malnourishment, medical care, all these different things. So anyway, but Ukraine has a very tough decision. And Trump, as usual, is siding with Putin. Again, for some reason, this American president always goes along with Putin. He accepted the idea that there doesn't need to be a ceasefire. They just could go end the war, which, of course, the ceasefire gives time to recover, gives time to negotiate, all that stuff. So, a lot of people don't want to be fighting and negotiating at the same time. But as usual, Trump, for some reason, sided with Putin. I don't know why. He treated Putin like some kind of hero. Gave him the red carpet treatment when he went to Alaska. This is an indicted war criminal. He violates the human rights of many, many peoples, including his own, for years and years. He's a murderer. So And for some reason, Donald Trump thinks he's friends with Vladimir Putin. He's just an asset of Vladimir Putin. He's not a friend of Vladimir Putin. He can think that. Vladimir Putin lets him think that because he's a master manipulator. And Trump, as usual, unprepared, shooting from the hip, brings along all the bozos. But again, the bozos don't make the final decision anyway. It's Trump that makes the decision about what the United States does. What Ukraine does, that's another story. What Europe does, that's another story. But the way Trump operates is if you don't go along with him, he'll use other things to try to compel you to do that. He'll use tariffs. He'll use trade barriers. He'll use all kinds of things, which quite frankly is outrageous. But that's who this guy is. He just is a big bully. Except when it comes time to fighting for real, then he's scared of his own shadow. So, all right, friends, that's it for this one. I think that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in the Ukraine, at least what I know up to today. I'm not sure tomorrow. We'll probably create at least one video from what happens, but we've got a pretty busy schedule, so it might be later in the day before we release it. Make sure you hit that bell icon notification if you're subscribed so you know when the video is coming out. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It really does help the channel get the information out there. Have a good day, everyone. We'll see you in the next video.